Guys, we are on. And our guest today is Lieutenant Governor of New York State, Antonio Delgado, on the Flash. Now, before we go on, let me tell you that Lieutenant Antonio Delgado comes from the country where I was born, the island where I was born, Cape Verde. Do you know which part of Africa that is?
The Western Islands.
I don't know either.
No, the Western.
Is the Western?
Yeah, these are different islands, different parts. The Western seaboard
No, but
of
I'm
Africa.
saying I wasn't sure. So you might be right. I wasn't sure.
I know. It is the Western.
So you know a few things about Cape Verde.
Yeah, of course.
Good.
I didn't know. I don't know the island though.
You don't know the
I don't
islands?
know where I like specifically.
Yeah, São
I just
Vicente,
know-
Santo Antão.
Yeah,
You don't
see,
know
I
those.
don't. I don't.
Those things.
I don't have that detail, but I know I know that I can see the area.
The
you know,
area.
on the map.
Lieutenant,
I need to go.
you need to go.
I need to go.
I need to go.
My great grandfather.
I need to go. Been 60 years since I've been there. So
60 years?
60.
Wow.
Well, 65. I left. I was like 6 months old.
Nah.
I went back for a little bit and then I left.
When did you go back?
Well, maybe about 65 years ago, or maybe 60, something like that.
Wait.
I was little.
So you were okay. You were back when you were little.
Yes, I was born.
You
We left.
You've never been back as an adult.
No, never went back as an adult.
All right.
Look,
Maybe we go back together.
maybe we go back together. People from Cape Verde, they're very proud of you, even though there is kind of a little bit of disconnect because of generation gap.
I get it.
But they're proud.
My grandfather, I know what that energy is.
Yeah.
My grandfather he passed away when I was 8. But some of my fondest memories, he was a very proud man, big family guy. And every time I was around him and our family, you know, the culture, even though I wasn't of the culture, I didn't grow up in the culture, but whenever I visited or hung out through my dad, because my dad didn't raise me, my biological father, so I would come visit every once in a while and get plugged into that side of my family. And every time I got plugged in, big family dinners, I felt the energy.
So we're going to make a deal here. Okay. If you win, which we think you are going to win,
I like that.
I'm going to go to Albany and visit you.
Yes.
And one of our Cape Verdean friends is going to make some cachupa for you to try it out. Cachupa is the food, traditional food from Cape Verde Island.
Oh, I'm excited
The
about
one
this.
that your dad probably ate,
yeah.
when he was young. Let's move into the gritty of the interview. Why are you running?
The status quo is broken. There's a lack of leadership in government right now that is lacking in vision, lacking in boldness, lacking in a real desire to change things for the better for people. The vision I see is usually, if there is a vision coming out of the current government, is a vision for power, a vision for a party, or a vision for profit. It is not a vision for people. Folks who are here to get by, and not just get by, but provide for themselves, their families, and live a story of upward mobility, of opportunity. When I was growing up in Schenectady, my parents were working class. I cut coupons, I put clothes on layaway, iron patches on my jeans, but education was very important, and their jobs. They had jobs at General Electric, and those stable jobs allowed us to have a better life. And the sad truth of the matter is, most kids growing up right now in New York don't expect to be better off than their parents. And that is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Talk about this vision.
Yes.
I think when it comes down to who am I going to vote for, it's important to understand the differences between the options that we have in front of us.
Critically important.
Critically important, because sometimes we vote based on who tells the better joke or connects best with the people. But when it comes down to,
yes,
is who has the best policy,
Yes.
who is going to fight for the interests of the people who elected them.
Correct.
So the vision, what is the main difference? If I have to look at both candidates
Yes.
and decide who am I going to vote for, I must understand the policy of both candidates, the differences of both candidates, in order to cast that vote in favor of whoever I decide to. So what is your vision compared to Governor Hochul's vision?
I like this question. And could I give it two different, I'm gonna give two answers. One is, you have to have a vision, okay? I don't believe there is a vision that she's providing. So I wanna make sure people aren't assuming there's a vision. There is no vision coming out of the current administration. Leadership can be from the inside out or from the outside in. If you have a vision, you lead from the inside, and you have political realities you have to adjust, but your vision guides you. If you don't have a vision, you react to every situation, and you don't have anything that drives you. I believe the governor reacts. There's nothing that's driving her. So whether her housing policy comes out, it waffles. When she talks about educational aid, she waffles. When she talks about how we deal with protecting our immigrant community, she waffles. There's no steady vision that guides her. The only thing she's actually really dedicated to is making sure we don't tax billionaires and big corporations. She is very, very adamant and steady about doing that. My vision, mine, this is mine. One, it is rooted in economic justice. You cannot talk about affordability and making housing affordable, healthcare affordable, wages better for folks if you're not prepared to talk about economic inequality. We have 1 in 5 kids in New York who are growing up in poverty. Half those kids are living in deep poverty. What are we doing to break the cycle of poverty? Nothing right now. What she's doing is taking public dollars and using them to draw in outside business, calling it economic development for the community, and then pricing folks out as a result. I would say take those same dollars and invest them directly into our communities and incentivize small businesses, nonprofits, educational institutions, faith-based leaders to come together, form a children's cabinet, and have place-based intervention that provides workforce opportunities for our young people from cradle to career. That's a vision. And it requires the state using its capacity to invest and build and grow. And that's just one part of my vision. I can go on. I can talk about housing. I can talk about childcare. I can talk about healthcare. But at the root of my vision is attacking economic inequality.
You know, if I had to make a judgment based on what you just said, I would say that your opponent is a Republican.
You would. And you know what? You're a smart man. I'll tell you why. There's a difference between being a Democrat who's for the people and a Democrat who's married to corporate power. The Democrat who's married to corporate power is thinking about how to stay in power. Because corporate power, they contribute to the political coffers, they contribute to the political campaigns. And it's easier for the political actor to wed themselves. It's harder to be a Democrat who's really for the people because you're for people who don't have all the time money to write you checks. You're fighting for the people. And so when you have a political system that has all this money flowing into it, it takes a lot of political will and moral courage to fight for the people. And the other piece that I'll say is, you know about trickle-down economics?
Correct.
That's the whole Republican, they say you cut taxes for the rich and then it'll trickle down to everybody else. First of all,
That's the theory.
I don't want anything that trickles down. I think that's just by itself sounds horrible. Why would anybody want anything that trickles down? But Democrats have this new way, and our current governor has this way of taking that same idea and just kind of making it sound better, which is we're going to take public dollars and we're going to give them to corporations and businesses and hope that they build, for example, affordable housing. Let's give developers tax credits and hope that they build affordable housing. But they never do. And if they do, it's like a little corner of the residential space is carved out for the people. That's not a lot different than trickle-down economics. It just sounds better. It's the same thing.
Just different wording to
Just different words.
describe.
The same outcome.
Now, only 1%, maybe less, are people up there, the billionaires, the millionaires. Governors, elected officials, are elected by the people.
Amen.
Okay? So this is an opportunity that you have to talk to those who are watching. Yonkers Voice is the largest social platform in Lower Westchester County. There is thousands and thousands of people that are going to watch this. We have reached about 11 million in the last 30 days. So there is a lot of people watching you.
Hello, people.
It's a lot of people in Cape Verde that are going to be watching you. And guess what?
Yeah.
They have family in this area, in this site.
I love it.
So let's take this time
Yes.
to address the people
Okay.
and say why the decision should be vote Antonio Delgado.
Yeah. Just jump right in. I can do that.
You can do that.
How long do I have?
Take as long as you like. You said like 10 seconds, it's like 2 minutes for me, so do your thing.
I understand why a lot of people might feel cynical about politics and politicians. But there's a difference between politicians and public servants. Public servants are actually in government because they care about the welfare and the well-being of people. And they put themselves out there, make themselves vulnerable, and they come from a place of love and compassion and understanding for the people. And you may not even agree with every single issue that I might articulate. But the one thing I think we can agree on is we have too many folks in government that are more concerned about how they keep their power than how they actually use their power to fight for the people that gave it to them in the first place. And this is not just theory, because we are living in a state that is governed by, you guessed it, Democrats. Democrats run the state of New York. Democrats are governing this state, and yet Democrats aren't delivering affordable housing. Democrats aren't delivering universal child care. Democrats aren't delivering universal pre-K. Democrats aren't delivering higher wages, not minimum wages, livable wages, right here in New York. And you might say, well, how come? Why aren't Democrats doing that? It's because too many Democrats, not all of them, but too many, including our governor, are worried about how to maintain the power they have. And the easiest way to maintain their power is to make deals with corporate power, with big business, to make sure that they can continue to get what they need by way of campaign contributions to sustain themselves. We need people power. That's what we need. And if you have the desire to change this status quo, to change what is clearly broken, where folks can't even afford basic necessities. We're talking groceries, groceries, energy bills are skyrocketing. We are not dealing with these issues in the way we could be because we don't have elected officials, the governor specifically, who's willing to fight. And we know what's happening in Washington. We see these cuts that are going to happen to healthcare, the cuts that are happening to SNAP and food assistance, the cuts that are going to happen to our hospitals. Where's the fight? Why aren't we taxing billionaires and big corporations to make sure people pay more into the system? Why aren't we protecting our immigrant community and fighting to pass legislation that would actually beat back the ICE that's raiding into our streets? I would do these things if I was governor. I would fight for universal health care. I would fight for affordable childcare. I would fight for a higher minimum wage. I would fight to invest in our communities directly. I would fight this in a way that genuinely reflects what the people deserve.
And needs, sir.
And needs.
Your campaign has gained support from the progressive groups like Citizens Actions of New York, How do you plan to balance progressive priorities with appealing to a broader Democratic electorate?
People have often asked about being progressive and left politics, and I'm not sure if folks know this, but I'll tell them. I was in Congress before I was lieutenant governor, and I represented a district in Congress. It's the federal government in the Hudson Valley, the Catskills, for 2 terms. And my district was 90% white. 90%. And it was the 8th most rural congressional seat in the entire country. Out of 435 congressional seats, New York had the 8th most rural congressional seat. A lot of farmers, small family-owned farms. And President Trump won my district 2 years prior by 7 points. By 7 points. So you might wonder, how did I win? And this is what I mean when I say labels sometimes don't really get to the heart of the matter. Because I met a lot of quote unquote progressives who didn't call themselves progressives in my old district. Those small family-owned farmers who were being squeezed out by big ag. And those families who couldn't figure out how to get on broadband access for their kids in rural parts of the state because the big monopolies don't want to invest in their communities because the return on investment is not going to be as high. I realized that it's not about being left or progressive, it's about being for the people. It's about not just doing things that reinforce economic inequality and not just cozying up to a corporatist agenda. I worked in corporate America. I was a lawyer in corporate. So it's not about being anti-corporate. It's about being for the people. And we have shifted away from that. And so when you ask the question, how do you tie these different communities together? It's centering the work around the people and making it clear that the agenda is to address economic inequality. The economic inequality in this country and in this state, we have the largest wealth inequality gap in New York, in the entire country. We have a $254 billion budget, the 3rd largest economy in this country. And if we were an independent nation, the 9th in the world. But no one feels it because the money is stuck in the top 1%. It's stuck. So we talk to folks in that bottom 99.
If we have to connect, or we are going to connect Yonkers, New York State, to the country, to Washington. We have seen what happened in LA.
Yes.
We've seen ICE all over the place, in some places in Westchester County. If the current president was to send ICE to New York State, what would be your reaction?
Well, first and foremost, we're not here to cooperate. No, the governor is the commander of the state, the National Guard. Now, there are rules around what the federal government can do with or without consent of the governor. First of all, there's no consent. There won't be any consent from where I sit. So there's no consent because there's no emergency. You see, usually the National Guard is deployed for emergencies that are ongoing. And you might call upon the federal government to assist in that regard to address a emergency. It could be, a natural disaster event, an attack of some kind that puts the public in harm's way. But what the president is doing is saying there's crime that's increasing. By the way, crime are always an issue. We have to always address it. But the notion that we're going to then say, you can come and give you consent to cause havoc in our streets to deal with a problem that is a problem that we deal with at the state level through our police force, that violates our state sovereignty. That's our job, to protect our communities. And so there's no justification. And to the extent that he wants to send in the National Guard or federalize the National Guard to help with ICE, we're going to court. We're going to court, which is exactly what they did out in California, by the way. They took him to court and they said they limited severely the way in which the National Guard could be used for that purpose. And so, no consent and no, go to court if we're trying to fight for anything.
Lieutenant, what you said was beautifully said.
Well, thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
in theory, okay, but when it came down to, we've seen actions and reactions that go above and what the law permits.
That's true.
Okay, yes, they might have a point. I might lose it in a month. They might tell me you shouldn't have done it, it was illegal, but guess what? I done it. It was done.
Well, that's why the no consent piece is important, and that's why having a very public posture, as Newsom did, where you get out in front of the narrative and you inform the public every single day what is actually happening in real time, and you provide your personnel, your law enforcement with everything it needs to feel secure in the decision making, right? So you're right. A lot of these discussions happen in theory, and then in reality, it's a whole different dynamic. But all you can do is be prepared and have a set of parameters, a set of principles that you are going to abide by, and try your very best to communicate with the public every single step of the way. But make no mistake about it, everything you say or do, if it is not consistent and not rooted in a shared objective, can be exploited and be used against you, right, by Trump and his administration. So you got to be very clear about what it is you are willing to accept and not accept. Very clear about cooperating and not cooperating. There can't be any gray area.
And you pledge to be on the front lines if it comes down to you getting elected and President Trump sends the ICE to New York State. You will take that front line and give the information to the people real time.
There's no more important thing to do. There's no more. This is the piece that I think I want folks to know. This is going to get worse. I hate to say that because I don't want to be hyperbolic. But I do believe that we're going to be tested. Everybody who calls himself a leader will be tested in this moment. And this is bigger than politics. This is how politics can happen. Like, we can have debates between the left and the right and Democrats and Republicans because we have a system that is rooted in a moral outlook of the world. Right now, that moral system is under attack. It's not just the left-right. It is the entire morality of the system. And you have to be able to fight for that. Not just fight as a Democrat or Republican, but fight for protecting the morality of our system. We cannot accept leadership that cheats and lies and has no integrity and no character, that is willing to steal and leverage its own power to accumulate wealth, that corrupts the system. It is corrupting the system right now. And we've always had an imperfect system, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't have, but we can't let it get so off the rails that there's no coming back from it.
Now, Lieutenant, I'm asking you questions, general questions, not specifically to New York State.
Yes.
For a reason. And the reason is people very often don't vote based on policies, budgets, things of that nature. They vote based on, do I connect with him? Do I feel comfortable that he's going to represent my ideology? Is this a person that is going to represent the moral that I believe should be the moral state of United States, New York State? Is he the person? That's why I'm asking you those questions, so the people can connect. But before we go any further, I want to make sure that everyone understands that Yonkers Voice does not support or endorse any candidate. We inform. We invite candidates to our show. We inform you so you can make an educated and informative decision on who deserves your vote. This is not a sign of endorsement, sir. It's just a sign of...
I understand.
Okay, so I just want to make it clear because I know that I'm going to get a couple calls, but why didn't, why? Everyone is invited to Yonkers Voice to speak with you.
And I'm happy to be here.
And I am glad that you are here. Crime in New York State,
Yes.
in Yonkers,
Yes.
okay, even though it creates, we have an optical illusion that crime is down, but the people on the street don't feel that crime is down.
No.
Is it because crime is not down, or is it because of people like me that are always on the street filming, showing what's happening, and that creates an illusion that crime is higher? What are your thoughts?
I mean, the stats, I'm a big stat person. I'm a data person. I think, you can have two things happen at the same time which feel inconsistent. You can have numbers, certain types of crime on the decline, and yet the environment doesn't necessarily give you a feeling of being safe. And we are living in a time, by the way, too, because of the way in which violent incidents occur and they get amplified via social media and news outlets, that it can create an enhanced sense of fear. And so you have to both address the hard stats and try to figure out how to continue to have that downward trend, but also you have to address the way we communicate about it. Not just yourself, but generally speaking, from the news outlets to social media. But the other piece that often gets overlooked, and this speaks to the conditions, the underlying conditions that give rise to crime. When you are in a community where historically that community has been devalued by outside actors, and you have folks who are struggling to find opportunity or ways to economically support themselves, those are the conditions that can create an environment that doesn't feel safe. Because people in that environment are hungry for something more, and they're not getting it. And so there's a way in which there's different, and this is what I mean by taking resources and investing them back into our communities. That dynamic is not going to change on its own. It's not going to change with one gun violent prevention program. It's not going to change with one fantastic teacher who's, doing everything he or she can to reach a child. It's got to take a system that is institutionalized, that has structure around it, that is invested in with state resources, that consistently operates over time. And only then will you begin to see change happen and communities being made whole and less crime and that feeling of being unsafe begin to dissipate. But that takes commitment, and that takes prioritization. And that is my vision. That's what I want to change. That's what I want to accomplish.
So guys, I wish I could stay here with you talking for another hour, but everything has time.
Was it an hour?
No, but they're telling me we gotta cut it. No. But that's okay. Well, perhaps in the near future, we can do another one of these.
Would love to.
Okay, we have a lot of people that will definitely connect with you here in Yonkers, New York State, and all around Westchester County. So maybe in the near future, we can reconnect again. So I'm gonna give you this time to do the closure, say whatever you need to say, and we're gonna call it done for the day.
Well, it's been a real pleasure. Seriously, I really appreciate the conversation and the opportunity to voice my vision. I applaud you and your desire to inform the public, to inform everybody who's tuning in. And I look forward to coming back, at a later date and continuing the conversation. We have a lot of work to do, and I'm dedicated to doing that work. And the chance to be able to communicate my vision is something that I really am grateful for. And I'm going to continue to build and fight for everyone here in Yonkers and across the state of New York. We have much work to do, and we cannot be deterred or dispirited. We must keep this faith and keep our collective capacity for change. So thank you for having me, sir. I do hope over time to earn the support of folks all across this great state. So.
Our hashtag is actions, not words.
Actions, not words.
So let's make the next interview happen. So anytime you're ready, you let one of your assistants scheduler call me up. We set it up. It will be a pleasure to have you, sir. Thank you, and until next time. Thank you guys for watching. Yonkers Voice always at your service. We are here to inform you, not here to endorse any candidate, but to show you who is who and what they stand for. Thank
Yonkers
you.
Voice.
That when you write, you're right.
You're right, you're right.